Hi guys, this is Arora. Welcome to Aviators Galaxy. Thank you so much for your love and support in my previous videos. Today, I'm going to talk about a flight which had 3 diversions, fuel left to fly only for 5 minutes, and ultimately a miracle saved that flight. Sounds interesting, right? So, let's get started. This was a Vistara flight UK 944, which was scheduled to fly from Mumbai to Delhi. It was a routine flight. The aircraft was an Airbus A320neo with 153 passengers on board. The flight took off from Mumbai at around 2:45 in the afternoon, and it was expected to land at Delhi by 4:55 pm. Generally, the flying time between Mumbai and Delhi lies close to somewhere 2 hours, but that was not the case over here. The flight took off from Mumbai with 8,500 kgs of fuel, which is more than the required amount for this route. After completing the flight of 2 hours, the flight reached Nimrana. Nimrana is a point near Delhi, where pilots generally circle over before getting the landing clearance from the air traffic controllers. So after circling over Nimrana for around 15 minutes, at 5 pm the flight started its descent for Delhi. But it couldn't land at Delhi due to bad weather conditions prevailing there. Now the pilots decide to hold over Delhi. Before moving ahead, I will tell you that holding is a maneuver designed to delay an aircraft already in flight within a specified airspace. This can be due to many reasons, such as high traffic, bad weather conditions, or to reduce the altitude of an aircraft if it's flying too high for its approach. The flight did a holding above Delhi for almost 75 minutes, which is more than an hour, but unfortunately the weather didn't show any improvement. Now the pilots decided to divert the plane to Lucknow, which was their destination alternate listed in their flight plan. Destination alternate is the airport where pilots divert to in case it is not possible to land at its scheduled destination. Every flight carries enough fuel to fly from origin to destination and from destination to destination alternate, apart from the fuel required for holding and taxiing. Let me give you an example. Imagine that a flight bound for Delhi. Its destination alternate will be Amritsar, Chandigarh, Jaipur and Lucknow. So here also the flight was diverted to Lucknow to get better weather conditions for landing. So when the flight reached Lucknow and contacted the air traffic controllers for landing, they got to know that the weather at Lucknow was also poor. There was a lot of low visibility and the pilots thought they were holding above Lucknow. So after holding above Lucknow for 15 minutes, the weather didn't show any improvement. And now the pilots decided to divert the plane to another airport, which was going to be their second diversion. But diverting a plane from destination alternate after circling over Delhi for almost 75 minutes was a dangerous decision. So the pilots considered various airfields such as Kanpur and Prayagraj, which was earlier known as Allahabad, to get better weather conditions. So finally, the flight decided to divert to Allahabad airport, which is 200 kilometers away from Lucknow and it requires 30 minutes of flying. You will be amazed to know that now the flight has fuel for flying only 15 minutes, but still the flight headed to Allahabad. After some time, the Lucknow air traffic controllers informed the Vistara crew that the Lucknow weather has significantly improved so they can return for a safe landing. Now, this is going to be their third diversion when the pilots decided to return back to Lucknow to get a better passenger and aircraft support over there. In the meantime, the pilots issued a Mayday distress call to the air traffic controllers to let them know that they are in a fuel emergency and they need a priority landing. At 6:47, the aircraft landed at Lucknow with all 153 passengers on board. After the flight got landed at Lucknow airport, it was found that the flight had only 200 kgs of fuel, which was just for 5 more minutes of flying. This was the statement released by Vistara, which says that the unexpected drop in the visibility was the main reason why the flight ended up in a low fuel situation. So it was truly a miracle that the weather gods and the Lucknow air traffic controllers informed the Vistara crew about the weather improvement at their airport. Otherwise, this flight would have crashed. Now, why did this flight end up in a low fuel situation? For better clarity of that, I will tell you the fuel requirement and the fuel planning for this route. For flying from Mumbai to Delhi, The minimum requirement of fuel is for 4700 kgs of fuel, which gives 2 hours of flying. Then, next thing which we consider is the reserve fuel, which is required if the plane is diverted to some other place or there is a longer holding time. So for that, we require 3000 kgs of fuel, which gives us 1 hour and 15 minutes of flying. So in total, a flight which is flying from Mumbai to Delhi, it will carry somewhere around 7700 kgs of fuel. Whereas in this case, the flight was carrying 8500 kgs, which is 800 kgs more than the required amount of fuel. This is a plus point that Vistara allow its pilots to carry excess amount of fuel, whereas it is a lesson for other airlines who strictly upload and refuel only the minimum requirement. I recall that this is a similar case of one which happened in November 1993 with an Indian Airlines, which got diverted from Hyderabad due to low visibility and it ran out of fuel, and ultimately it had to land on a paddy field. Generally, a flight coming from Mumbai to Delhi, after it lands, it still has fuel to fly for 60 more minutes, but this flight ended up in low fuel situation due to excess holding over Delhi and 3 diversions of this flight. Now, there are 2 questions which arise in everyone's mind regarding this incident. The first one is, why didn't the pilots opt to auto land at Lucknow airport, which is a fully automated landing done in case of low visibility operations and low fuel situations? They could have landed automatically at Lucknow. And the second major question was that if the crew knew about the fuel emergency, why did they still opt to divert the aircraft to Allahabad, knowing that they do not have excess fuel to fly there? But still, we do not know what was the situation in the cockpit, so I really cannot comment on that. Later on, the flight got refueled at Lucknow and finally touched down at Delhi at 1:35 am, after which both the pilots were grounded for further investigations. So a normal 2-hour flight turned into a 4 hours nightmare for all those 153 on board. But luckily, due to a miracle, all those landed safely. This was all about Vistara UK 944 incident. I hope you enjoyed and liked this video. Do share your reviews in the comments, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.